this was one of those things that he found really difficult to conceptualize. And I was trying to explain to him that after a couple gets married, a man's primary responsibility is number one to his children, then to his wife, and then beyond that is his family. And he was finding this really difficult to understand. This all came from how we were talking about, as explaining to him about the fact that in the UK, since the 1960s, about 70 to 80% of all divorces have been filed for by the woman, right? So rarely is it going to be where a situation where the man asks for a divorce. And I was explaining to him that one of the reasons why so many women ask for a divorce is because they get to a point in their relationship where they don't respect their man. Now, how does not respecting their man looks like? One of the reasons they don't respect their man is because the man has basically put the wife above everything else. But if you look at women, women always put their children first, beyond anyone else. And so when you begin to understand as a man that, oh, one of the reasons why my wife is losing respect for me is because I keep trying to put her first beyond our children. The children should be first. In fact, if you look at the court system and you look at why so many men don't end up getting custody of their children, one of the reasons why men don't get custody of their children is because when men go into the court system to ask for family court and they ask for paternity of their children, they ask for 50%. What do you think most women ask for? Most women, not 10 times out of 10, want 100% of the paternity and the main care of the children. And so what do you think is easier to negotiate? To negotiate up or to negotiate down? Meaning, when you go into the family court and you've got a judge next to you and you've asked for 50%, do you think it's going to be easier to convince the judge to give you primarily care of your children from 50% to 70% of the time, or for them to take it down from 100% to maybe 80%? And that's why so many women end up doing better than men in the family court system. They just put their kids first always. And the thing that I say to men is, are you putting your kids first, right? Are you putting yourself first? When it comes to man, it's hard for me to tell this to guys sometimes, but a lot of guys don't understand. One of the things that I kept hearing from a lot of people, a lot of guys who were divorced, is they would say this statement like, Kasim, she blindsided me. I didn't expect that we were going to get divorced. Man, she caught me off guard. And I'm like, how could she have caught you off guard? And I didn't really understand this. And part of the reason is that women think way ahead and plan out before they end up actually asking for divorce. The man thinks, oh man, she's just asked for divorce today. No, this has been ongoing for like 2 years. She's been thinking about it. Where is she gonna live? How will she feed herself? Like, a lot of women, usually they've put money aside. Here's what I say to men: 9 times out of 10, when a woman asks for divorce, you're the last to know. She's already spoken to her mum. She's already spoken to her sister. She's spoken to the lawyer, right? This is part of the reason, actually, why women tend to do better in courts when it comes to children, because they are usually the first to go to lawyers to seek advice. The man doesn't seek advice until when? He's usually been served papers. But the woman has already spoken to a lawyer, she's spoken to her sister, she's put money aside, like she's gone and looked at if she can get a loan, right? One of the common things that I would hear men complain about when they got divorced is, Cass, she's been spending loads of money on the credit card. Yeah. So one of the things that women do when they get divorced is they leverage themselves so that they, like, for example, have most of the cards, right? Or a common thing is when I was listening to a guy who gives men advice when they get divorced. And one of the pieces of information he was giving people, he was giving men as one of the mistakes that they make, is that men, when they are served papers, what they do is they move out of their house. Now, if you move out of your house and the woman doesn't want you there, guess what she's going to do? She's going to change the locks on the house, right? That means you now no longer have access to the house. And if you attempt to gain access to, even though it's your own house, once the locks have been changed, you're inadvertently now looked at as a threat, right? You're an intruder, right? And you imagine you go to the courts and you try to explain that to the court. It just isn't going to look good. So my point is, like, the thing that I say to guys is, you've got to learn how to put yourself first. right? And like you've really got to learn about this, because if you don't, it's going to end up being one of the catalysts to women not respecting you anymore in a marriage, and ultimately it's going to lead to a situation where you're going to end up getting divorced, right? Men don't understand this. Women can lose respect for you. Like a lot of guys. This actually was one of the big inconvenient truths that I didn't really want to hear, but I started listening to a lot of women who'd been divorced, and one of the things that they would say these things, these phrases like, "Yeah, and Cash, he just gave up." And I was like, "What do you mean he gave up?" They would say these kinds of statements, or Cash, he no longer tried. And what I began to realize is that a lot of men, when we get married, we think, Cass, I've given her the marriage, I've given her the ring, I've given her what she wanted. Oh, I can relax now. But that's not how women think. Women think, right, okay, you've married me now. It's time for you to step up. It's time for you now to put the accelerator to the metal. Let's start buying a house. Let's start saving. Let's start thinking about the future for the kids. Let's start thinking about our pension. Blah blah blah. Women start thinking now it's time to level up. And a lot of men don't level up because they're like, well, why should I? We've just been married. I've spent all this money. I've asked for you. I've given you the engagement you've wanted. I've done all these things for you. The goal was to get married, but that's not it. For women, the marriage is really the foundation for all the other things. For example, a lot of women have been taught that in order for them to have children, they have to be married. In Western societies, in fact, I would say generalize and say most of the world, women have been taught that in order to have children, you have to get married first. So actually, the marriage is not the goal for the woman. It's just simply a stepping stone to now going to get what she actually wanted, which were the children. Because until she marries you, there is no way of her guaranteeing security of her having children. Right? Having children makes women very vulnerable. So they need somebody who's stable. And part of the reason is, and I would hear women say this, Cassim, one of the reasons why we got divorced was money problems. Excuse me. And I was thinking, money problems, what's wrong with money? And a lot of women were stopped because they've married this man. They thought he was going to step it up. He was going to now become a manager. He was going to now go and earn more money because they wanted children. And in order to have children, they're thinking, if he can't take care of us, how can we have children? Because he's definitely not going to be able to take care of the child. So a lot of women jump ship when they think, oh no, he's not going to be able to take care of the kids. He's doing really bad in his job. He doesn't know what he wants to do. He's not progressing. He's not doing overtime, right? And again, this is where I think it confuses guys, because women say, I want my man to be at home. But actually, what they really want, a woman will respect you more if you're putting in more hours trying to make more money so that your children can be sent to a good school, so that you can have a family holiday. That's how they respect you. They don't respect you when you're at home being a bum and giving them everything and being a simp to them. That's not how they respect you. And so you have to really think about this kind of stuff. And a lot of guys, we've never thought about this kind of stuff. And moreover, we don't put ourselves first. We prioritize our wife. Many men prioritize their wife beyond even their children. And it's like absolute insanity. Women are the complete opposite. Women prioritize their children above everything. And if you want to lose your respect very, very, very quickly for a woman, start prioritizing other things. Golf, going out, no. The focus should be on your children, right? Of course, the focus should also be on her, and the focus should also be on your health and all the other things. But one of the main focuses of your life as a father should be your children. How to improve their life, how to be more present for them, how to help them become more disciplined, etc., etc., etc. But I don't know if that's been useful for you or not. Something for you to think about. Yeah, thanks for listening anyway.